Hello coaches and welcome to Give and Go Live. My name's David Newbury and I'm joined by my colleague Ian Barker.
Hi David, pleasure to be here.
Thanks Ian. This one is called Counter Attack Kings and it's an activity that is probably suitable for players in the third, fourth stage of development and older, players age 9, 10 and older. And as we can see on this setup, we have two teams. Each team has 5 players. In this example, the coach is passing the ball into the white team, who are the attackers, and they have 5 players, and the objective is to keep possession for a set number of passes. In this case, we've said 5. As that is occurring, the blue team, the defensive team, will now send 3 players into the opponent's end, and each end is wide and short, and we have an area in between in the middle that is the barrier between the 2 zones. And as I said, the objective for the white team is to get 5 passes and the blue team is to win possession and then score in either one of the corner goals. Ian, over to you.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of nice little opportunities here. What I would probably do initially is withhold or delay the pressure from the defenders, in this case 3, and allow for the coach to get the ball into the white team just so they can start to find their space and get a little bit of a passing rhythm. Once they've done that, then we would introduce the defenders, obviously, to create the pressure and put some consequence on the ability of the white team to possess it. One of the things I'd be looking for here is once they've lined up around the periphery of the activity, all on the edges, can we get a white player to pop up in the middle? So there's kind of a point player, a focus player, a number 10, if you will. Another thing we can do is we can make this exclusively a possession activity for the whites, just keep the ball in the grid. But then we can say, okay, after you've made your 5 passes, can you get behind these 3 and quickly get into this area and subsequently go to goal, taking up a numerical advantage. So if you can pull the blue team apart into effectively 2 halves, 3 and 2, can you get behind them and then maybe counter-attack as well?
So as the activity has progressed here, we can see that the blue team has managed to intercept, and their primary objective is to try and score on the counter-attack. And what they've done here is move the ball between the 3 players, found the player that has a 1 versus 1, and that player has managed to get inside and score against the white player. There is an activity called Cross the River. Many coaches have probably use this in training, where once the blue team win the ball, they pass back, and then the blue team are now responsible for also getting 5 consecutive passes, and that's how they score points. The reason why we haven't done that in this activity is because this is about counter-attacking, and that means we need to then progress in one direction to score in the corner goals. Ian?
Yeah, absolutely, David, and well put. So the key here, obviously we work on the whites in possession and what the whites can do, but then the key becomes, can the blues dispossess and find a goal as quickly as possible, so as immediately as possible. So we're starting to look at transition, counter-attacking. What we also would be wanting to do is, because we've got on the defensive front foot, that is to say we've sent these 3 blues high up the field to press, the 2 blues that can't necessarily completely join them, we probably want them up as high as possible to replicate the notion of the team staying together. We won't at this point go back. We won't use these 2 players in reserve, but at least we get them in the habit of adopting a good position and staying compact as a unit. But again, what we've done here is we've put the blue team on the front foot defensively to apply pressure and game-winning pressure or ball-winning pressure as high as possible. And then we've, of course, got the shortest route to goal because we've got a very short distance. And if we can catch the whites while they're disorganized, maybe we can take full advantage of our counter-attack.
And I think one of the concepts in this diagram is the idea of a disorganized defense, where in transition they haven't really moved into good defensive positions to block passage to the goal. In this next sequence, however, the white team is assumed to have been more organized. So instead of passing and trying to score directly, the Blues now are encouraged to maintain possession. So if they can't go to goal immediately, as a lot of young players will try to do, now we want them to actually maintain possession and pass the ball to the players that are in a slightly more deep lying roles, with the idea of withdrawing or encouraging the white team to come forward, then allowing us to get in and exploit space, where we now have a 3 versus 3 against the previous scenario where it's a 3 versus 5. Ian?
Yeah, and so what you can appreciate here is we're becoming increasingly more game realistic. So previously, we had suggested the 3 should go immediately to goal, especially if the 5 were spread out, and once they gave up possession, they didn't get organized quickly. But that wasn't the case in this scenario, so the Blues felt like they needed to play backwards. You'll recall in the previous slide, I'd suggested that our Blues, these 2 Blues here, initially this would be their starting positions when their team is out of possession, but now their team has won it, we'd want them to drop off into deeper positions to stretch the white team out. And you can see that the Blues, by playing back, by playing this longer pass back, have begun to stretch the white team out as these 2 guys at top have come to press. Now there's more passing channels. And so as we've moved the whites around, this Blue has the ball. He or she now has a forward pass, and there's a 1 versus 1 to exploit because we've really stretched the white team out. So sometimes our counterattack is very direct, but in this case, sometimes our counterattack is a little less direct, but with intention to spread the opponent.
And this is a great activity because you can introduce all sorts of game-related concepts. So thanks, Ian, for joining us, and thank you, coaches, and see you on the next time on Give and Go Live.